Okay, I'm going to try making this video again. Hopefully my voice will be picked up this time. This tablet really isn't working out as a way to make videos. But anyway, I'll try it again here. A situation has arisen recently, and I believe that in a way I've become, I don't know, I've been misunderstood maybe or something, I don't know. This often happens when I deal with women, especially. There seems to be some sort of a blockage or a wall between myself and them. And there's like a problem understanding, you know. They don't understand me and I don't understand them. And it's been an issue. Cat fur. When you live with a cat, you eat a lot of fur, I'll tell you. It's worth it, though. He's my best friend, Rocky is. But he's asleep in his box right now. He's had his treats and he's having a sleep in his box. So he's having a good day so far. But here's the thing. An incident occurred recently at a place where I was working where some wild animals had passed away. And I was tasked with removing them from where they were. And the lady, very kind-hearted lady, very good person. This isn't a knock against her or anything like that. But still, she is a female, and there seems to be something between myself and females. It's always been this way. But she was apologizing to me because she felt like I was probably emotionally traumatized by having had to deal with that situation. And again, very well-meaning. I don't question her motivation or how she was feeling about it at all. However, I wasn't traumatized. And I told her so. I said, no, look, I don't like that this happens. I wish it didn't happen, but I accept it. You know, it's nature. You know, nature's like that. It's cruel. You know, we're living in a fallen world and nature's cruel. So I accept it. And, you know, when these situations occur, I deal with them however I need to deal with them and I move on. And I don't get emotionally involved to that degree. It makes me sad, yes, but I don't become an emotional wreck. The glasses are kind of freaky looking on the film there. Anyway, I don't become an emotional wreck, though. I don't fall apart. Well, and then I did shoot a video on the property where these animals were visible briefly in the video, and that also caused other problems. But and I think it was kind of interpreted all that as that I don't have a heart for animals, or that I'm maybe have a bit of a, I don't know, almost like I revel in it or I enjoy it or something, which I don't when these things happen. And then when I went to see some people about another job, who I was recommended to these people by the first people, by the people who had the situation at their house, um, with the animals that had passed on. And it was a natural thing. I don't know if it was a disease that took them out or what, but it does happen, and it's nature. And these are animals that die a lot. You know, this particular type of animal is an animal that will, most of them die. They reproduce like crazy because most of them die. So they have to, just to maintain the population at any level at all. And, you know, being a wild animal is a tough life. You know, when you live in nature, like I'm living right now, you develop a whole new respect for it. But the bottom line is this. I was warned by the man there, very nice people, very decent, very good, very nice people. But I was warned by him that his wife really can't stand any cruelty to animals, because she has a background in regarding veterinary medicine and stuff like that, and so she's seen a lot of bad stuff, as you can imagine she would. And so, she's seen a lot of people do a lot of really awful things, and people can be horrible. And especially when people are dealing with vulnerable things, people are horrible when they're dealing with other people who are vulnerable. Not everybody. I mean, not everybody's horrible like that, but there are some people who are, and the same is true for animals. Some people are just horrible when they're dealing with animals. And so I understand that, and I respect it. But I could tell by the fact that that kind of came out of nowhere, as far as I can tell. So I can tell that this idea that maybe I'm not all that kind to animals has taken root. So I do feel the need to explain myself, and I don't really feel like I can explain myself very well to people in person, because anything I say may be taken by them indifferently. Like what happened to me when I said that I wasn't emotionally upset about what had happened with these animals that had died. And it was kind of taken, I think, as if almost that I enjoyed it or something. I don't know. I don't really understand how it was taken. I can't quite get my head around it, but it was taken differently than I intended it to be taken anyway. And I do know that. But anyway, bottom line is this. Nature's a cruel bitch. Nature is the equivalent, and any of you men out there will know this because we've all done it. We've all had this experience. Nature is the equivalent of that beautiful woman that you fell in love with when you were 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, in that age range. And your mother met her once and said, "Son, stay the hell away from her. She'll be nothing but trouble." And then she turned out to be nothing but trouble. She took you on a roller coaster ride like you've never had before or since, with high highs. The highs were wonderful and the lows were devastating. And at the end of it, you were standing there in the rain with no coat and no shoes, and your pockets turned inside out, wondering what the hell just happened. And then you had to go back and apologize to your mom for not listening to her. That's what nature is. Nature is that woman, you know. And nature is beautiful. And nature will take you on some incredible highs. Nature will also devastate you. Nature will kick your ass, I'll tell you. And the only way to deal with nature is you have to learn to work with it, and you have to learn to work around it. Don't try to work against it, because if you try to work against it, you will lose every time. And so see, what I've learned from all this, and look, I thought I understood nature before, and even now I know I don't really understand nature. I don't. I understand it better than I did. I understand nature better than I did 5 years ago. And as much as I thought I knew nothing. And what I know now is considerably more than I knew then, and I still know nothing. Really, compared to what I need to know to truly understand nature, I don't know much. But what I do know is that nature has its own ways and its own way of dealing with things, and it doesn't care what I think. It doesn't care. Nature does not say before it does something, "Oh, I wonder what Tom will think of this. Maybe I should go ask Tom what he thinks." Nature doesn't do that. Nature has functioned the way it has since the beginning of time. Nature doesn't need my input. It doesn't, And so I accept that. I say, okay, nature will do what nature does. Just like the beautiful young woman that we all fell in love with when we were young and our mom warned us about her. Just like she went ahead and did whatever she was going to do. Nature's the same way. And the thing is, the harder you fought that beautiful young woman, the worse it got for you. That's what nature will do. You have to learn to work around it, or you have to learn to work with it, and you have to learn to work around it, or you have to leave it alone. And the thing is, a young man does not have the experience to work with or around that woman. And neither do we ever have the experience to work against that woman or to work against nature. We just don't. Maybe that's why nature is referred to in feminine terms. Maybe that's why it's called Mother Nature. Because you get extreme highs and extreme lows. A lot of it is extreme. And yeah, it's beautiful. There's a lot of beauty there. I mean, I've seen things, that just about brought me to tears. And I'm, like I say, I'm not a weak man. Physically, I'm not terribly strong. But I'm not a weak man emotionally. I've had to deal with an awful lot of really awful stuff throughout the course of my life. I've had to deal with terrible losses. I've had to deal with violence that most people in modern times haven't had to deal with. I've seen things, I've seen people I knew and that I liked and even that I cared about. I've seen those people die and stuff. I come across a car accident one time where a man who I knew was dead in the car. And a pregnant woman was miscarrying in a truck that was involved. And it was horrible. Car was bent up like a horseshoe. A 1978 Mercury Cougar, bent up like a horseshoe, and a bull-nosed Ford F-150 half-ton truck had the whole front end ripped off it. It was gone right to the firewall. There was steam coming out the heater, where the heater hoses went in for the fire hall. There was actually plumes of steam coming up out of there. That's how recent this accident was when I came across it. And the man that I knew that was killed in it, he was pushed over from the driver's side to the passenger's side with blood coming out of all the holes in his head. Now you tell me that I haven't seen some stuff. When I was locked up in the reformatory years ago, I ended up having to listen to a girl being raped with a plunger handle. I say I don't want to get into all this too much, but I'm just saying, if I fell apart every time something awful happened, I couldn't function. I can't afford to be that way. But that doesn't mean I don't have a heart, and it doesn't mean I don't care. Look how I am with my cat here. He's my best friend. The idea that someday I'll lose him scares the hell out of me. That makes me emotional. But still, I gotta get it together and I gotta keep moving ahead. I can't allow myself to fall apart. And so, no, I don't have a nervous breakdown because some animals died. I accept it as the reality of life. And again, my spiritual beliefs are part of that. I believe in Jesus. I understand and know there are a lot of people who don't. And some of you are probably watching this and looking at me right now and saying, oh, here we go. I'm not trying to push my spiritual beliefs on anybody. I'm only telling you what I believe because I need to explain my mindset. And I believe that Jesus will come back someday. And at that point, all this corruption will go away. But until then, we're going to have brutality. We're going to have death. We're going to have corruption. We're going to have authority figures in power who we can't trust. We're going to have people drinking themselves silly to cope with it all because they can't process it any other way. We're going to have crime and violence and corruption and death. And the only control we have is we control ourselves. That's all. We control what we do. We don't control what the other guy does. We certainly don't control what nature does. I hope my voice isn't going out on this. I'm having trouble. I'm getting kind of hoarse, but anyway, my throat's bothering me. But anyway, the bottom line is I accept the fact that there's corruption. I don't embrace it, but I accept it. I accept the fact that there's violence and cruelty. I don't embrace it, but I accept it. I accept the fact that there's death. I don't embrace it, but I accept it. Someday I will die. I accept that. Now, I believe that the spirit goes on because that's part of my belief system. I understand that not everybody does, and I respect each individual's right to their own ideas with regard to these things. And some of the people I think the highest there, I'm making up words. Some of the people I think the highest of, here you go. Some of the people I think the highest of, including the lady who had the situation on her property with the animals, are people who I think very highly of, and I hold them in my heart, and I have a great deal of respect for them. This lady and her husband are wonderful people. And I have a great deal of respect for both of them. And they don't share my belief in God. Not even a little bit. And doesn't matter. They're still really good people, and I respect them. And I think very highly of them. But I need to explain my mindset so that you may understand, and I hope you understand. We all need to be understood, no matter who we are or what our belief system is. Everybody has that need to be understood, and including me, and I'm using this forum a bit to do that, to accomplish that. But the bottom line is, I accept that death is inevitable for me, just like it is for everybody, and it's going to come probably sooner than I think it is going to come. But the bottom line is this: even if I live to be quite old, it'll come sooner than I think. You talk to people in their 80s and their 90s, and they'll tell you how quickly it comes. They'll tell you, just yesterday, I could pick a toddler up under one arm and a basket of laundry up under the other, and I could run up the stairs and take them two at a time. Now I got a little motorized chair that I sit in to go up the stairs because my legs won't take me up there anymore. They'll tell you that, and they'll say it was yesterday. In my mind, it was yesterday. And they'll tell you that. And really, it happens that quickly. I'm in my mid-50s. I was a young man, a teenager and a young man in the 1980s. To somebody in their 20s, the 1980s is the olden days. To them it is, and in a way it is, because a lot has changed since then. I was 16 years old in 1984. That's 40 years ago. It blows my mind that 1984 is 40 years ago, because I remember 1984 vividly. I was 6 in 1974, and I remember 1974 vividly. 50 years ago. Hard to believe, but there you go. So yeah, I understand where these older people are coming from when they say it seems like it was just yesterday. And now look, what happened? The bottom line is I accept that death is inevitable, but that doesn't mean I embrace it. It doesn't mean I like it. It just means that I accept the reality of it, and I don't get preoccupied with it. I just accept that, okay, that's the reality of the situation, and it just means that I need to be appreciative as much as I can of the good things in life that I have now, because someday that's going away. Now, I believe like I say, because I believe in the spirit and I believe the spirit continues on. Death doesn't hold the same terror for me that it does for somebody who doesn't believe in these things. But it also, that doesn't mean I embrace it. And I know a lot of women who would hear me say, "Then, oh God, he's suicidal. He wants to kill himself." That's what a lot of them would say. Because again, it seems like they go to extremes. And that's where I have communication issues with women a lot of the time. But it's like, no, I'm not suicidal. I just accept the inevitability of it, and I don't worry about it. It is what it is, you know. That's a different thing. That's not embracing death. That's just acknowledging it. That's all. Acknowledging and embracing are two different things. And it's the same with nature. I accept that nature can be quite cruel. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that just like I acknowledge the beauty that I see in nature. I acknowledge both of those things. I appreciate the beauty and I respect the cruelty. I have a healthy respect for it. Not a fear, because fear will not do you any good. Fear will cause you not to act right. So fear is no good. But respect. You need to respect, nature. I found this dealing with people. I've dealt with pretty tough people over the years. I've had dealings with people who were in outlaw biker gangs and everything else. And the way you deal with somebody like that is you don't fear them. Because if you fear them, they will prey on you. But you respect them. You understand that this is a person who can, if they choose to, do you a great deal of harm. And you respect them. But you don't fear them. And the thing is, those types of people, they value respect. They talk about respect all the time, and they value respect. They don't value fear. And if you come at them from a place of fear, you're going to have issues. But you come at them with respect, and you basically say, look, I'm going to show you respect, and all I ask is that you show me respect. They'll say, right on, man. You got it. If you come at them, please don't hurt me, they're going to say, what the hell? Hey, get out of here before I knock your teeth out. What's wrong with you? That's how they're going to respond to you then. And really, I don't blame them. They probably should respond to you that way if that's how you approach them. But if you have to have dealings with these people and you just say, hey, look, I respect you. Just please respect me and we'll get along fine. They'll say, no problem. I respect you too. No issues. That's how they are, those people. And that's kind of how nature is too. You got to come at it with respect, that's all. And like I say, the fact that I accept that it is the way it is does not mean that I revel in it or I enjoy it or anything like that. I don't embrace it or anything, I just accept it. And, that's just the inevitability of what we live with. And like I say, the two stories I told you, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I've seen things that, I say, I don't even talk about a lot of the stuff I've experienced or I've seen because it's hard to talk about and it's hard to hear. People don't want to hear about that stuff. So, and probably you don't want to hear about the things I did talk about just now, but I'm just trying to say I have not led a sheltered life. I've experienced things that, I say just hearing about it disturbs most people. So imagine when that's in your memory, when you actually saw that, Anyway, that's the bottom line. I hope you're all doing well today. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you watch my videos. You're listening to a kind of an idiot here ramble. So thank you for taking the time out of your life to do that, because as I said before, life is finite, and you've chosen to spend a little bit of yours with me, and I appreciate it. Anyway, goodbye for now.